Okay, Mr. Durst is present, represented by Mr. Chesnoff and Mr. DeGuerin. We have Mr. Henderson and Mr. Milius, Mr. Lewin, Mr. Balian. Welcome back, Mr. Miata. Good to have you back. And ladies and gentlemen, I've talked to the lawyers a bit about the schedule, and I know that many of you have relied on the schedule that I have given you. A lot of you have made appointments on Fridays, and I'm not going to interfere with your obligations. After speaking with the lawyers and reviewing what's to be presented, I'm confident we can successfully complete the trial adhering to our present schedule with Friday and recess. So the one only question, the only issue, I do expect to be off on the 19th, but there is, if before you make any plans for the 19th, check with the court. I'll just put it that way. So I'm going to just keep that as a possibility that we'd be in session. But I at this point, I expect not to be. That's a Thursday the 19th. So again, let me know before you make any other plan for that date. Otherwise, you'll have your Fridays, continue to have your Fridays off. You can rely on that. All right, now we're. Pardon?
Are we going to have Fridays off through deliberation as well?
Yeah, I think we can. I think we can do that because we do have a juror. I don't think we're going to see deliberations until the 27th. Might be the 20th. Could be the 27th. But if it's earlier, you'll have enough time, enough weekdays. If it's later, I still think you have enough time. I think you're all right. We have a juror who made some firm appointments for the 27th, and I don't want her to change those obligations. I'm pretty sure we can get this done. All right. But that means everyone's got to all do our best to make adjustments so that we can accomplish this in a timely fashion. But we will get it done, I assure you. With that, Mr. Milius, where are we in the presentation of the stipulated testimony of Mark?
We're on page 3, line 7.
This is in the page 3, line 7.
Yes, we have just played the majority of the December 11th through 13th, 2010 videos. We have one little section following that, and then we'll proceed. Is the court ready?
Yes. Everybody ready? Let's proceed, Mr. Milius.
Thank you, Your Honor. During these December 11th through 13th interviews, Durst admitted that he frequently talks to himself and was filmed doing so on multiple occasions. At one point during one of the December 2010 interviews, Durst was reminded by his attorney, Steve Rabinowitz, while the camera was rolling, that he was still wearing a microphone and that what he was saying to himself was being recorded. Portions of the unedited December 11th through 13th interviews where Durst is talking to himself and then being admonished by his attorney that he is being recorded are admitted into evidence as Exhibit 270 and 270A as the transcript and will now be played.
There is a transcript of what he's saying, but a lot of it is visual, so I would urge the court and whoever to go back and forth and watch and read.
You talked about the talking to yourself. Was that something that you were aware of that
One
happened?
time I was a little boy, I was been talking to myself, and I was frequently get I almost got in fights a couple of times. I would get very animated with my hands, and I'd be talking to myself a whole bunch of times. I'd be staring wherever I was staring and talking to myself and waving my hand. I had guys come over and say, "Hey, you got something to say to me, buddy?" Particularly in Texas. If you want to say something, say it. And I'd always want, "Sorry, man, I'm just talking to myself." "Well, you're looking right at me." "Strictly a coincidence, I'm sorry."
And when you start talking to yourself,
A lot of times I wouldn't even know it. Wouldn't be aware of it. know, I'd be,
Sorry.
I would be aware that I was talking to myself, but not aware that I was affecting anybody.
And nowadays, do you still do that?
I talk to myself, but not in public and with lots of hand movements and loudly. And, or maybe I talk to myself loudly, but not with lots of people around. I didn't say much. I talked about Connecticut.
No, when you were talking to yourself.
On December 15th, 2010, 2 days after the initial interviews were completed, Durst's attorney emailed Jarecki stating, "Thanks for giving Bob a fair shake." This email is admitted into evidence as Exhibit 271. And we have a close-up of it as well, and I'll read the section. It says, "To Andrew, thanks for giving Bob a fair shake. You, Mark, Tom, and the whole crew made the experience an entirely pleasant one. Bob remains open to another day prior to Christmas. We just have to figure out when and where. Bob leaves for Houston today and will be there until he returns to LA on December 22nd. I'm not available at all on the 22nd, but I'm wide open on December 23rd, as I believe Bob is. So unless you want to do the pickup interview sometime beforehand in Houston, and Bob's availability is very limited there, we should lock in the 23rd now, particularly as booking flights around that time will be difficult. Best, Steve." After the December 2010 interviews, Jarecki and Smerling continued to do research for their project, which include contacting individuals and conducting additional interviews. In August 2011, Los Angeles Police Department Robbery Homicide Division Detective Paul Coulter shared with Smerling the cadaver note. That same month, Jarecki and Smerling interviewed Susan Berman's son, Serb Kaufman. As part of their discussions with Serb, he was asked to look through Susan's old files and personal effects. Serb later did so and discovered an old letter that had been written by Durst and mailed to Susan. That letter was in an envelope dated and postmarked March 3rd, 1999, about a year and a half before Susan's murder. Serb subsequently gave Smerling the letter and envelope, thereafter referred to as the Serb letter and Serb envelope. A photograph of Serb holding the Serb letter and Serb envelope is admitted into evidence as Exhibit 272. The Serb envelope was addressed to Susan Berman at, Tim, can we switch to the Elmo? Yeah, I actually have the, Wolf, I apologize.
Apologize to Mr. Wolf. I'm staying on top of it.
You are.
Thank you.
Yes. Back up a second. Photograph of the serb envelope was addressed to Susan Berman at 1527 Benedict Canyon, Beverly Hills, CA 90210. Beverly was spelled wrong with an extra E before the Y. The serb envelope and the serb letter are admitted into evidence as Exhibit 273. Jarecki and Smerling noted that the envelope's address had the same misspelling of Beverly as the envelope for the cadaver note, which LAPD Detective Paul Coulter had previously provided to Smerling. Between January 2011 and April 2012, Jarecki persistently corresponded with Durst and Durst's lawyer in an attempt to schedule another interview. Jarecki's intention was to confront Durst with the serb letter and serb envelope. At times, Durst directly answered Jarecki's phone calls and emails, frequently doing so in a manner which intentionally excluded his own attorney from the exchanges. On June 4, 2011, Jarecki and Durst spoke on the phone. Durst made clear that his attorney did not want him to do another interview. On July 13, 2011, Jarecki and Durst had another call in which Jarecki again tried to schedule an interview. On July 20, 2011, Jarecki emailed another of Durst's attorneys, Ted Simon, requesting that Durst participate in a future interview. This email is admitted into evidence as Exhibit 274. Between August and December 2011, Jarecki and Durst lawyers repeatedly corresponded about setting up another interview. Durst eventually agreed to do the interview and scheduled it for December 22nd or 23rd of 2011, before later changing his mind. Durst subsequently scheduled and rescheduled the interview several times in early 2012, but the interview never happened. On March 6, 2012, Jarecki emailed Durst that an acquaintance of Jarecki's had found Durst's bag at a Los Angeles restaurant. This email is admitted into evidence as Exhibit 275. Durst expressed gratitude that Jarecki had reunited him with his lost bag and its contents, as a result, finally agreed to sit down for another interview. And there's a close-up of it, and I will read it. Bob, I got a call from a guy who found your bag and phone in a restaurant. Primo's in LA? He called me because he saw my name on your address book and recognized it. He is friends with my stepbrother who lives in LA. Small world. Colin has it. Shall we FedEx it to you? Let me or Colin know. Andrew. At this point in time, the Durst organization used email addresses for their employees which ended at durst.org. As an example, Douglas Durst's email was douglas@durst.org. In an effort to intercept correspondences intended for Douglas, Durst acquired the email account douglas@durst.com. On March 20th, 2012, Durst forwarded Jarecki an email from another Durst family member intended for Douglas, which was inadvertently sent to @durst.com address. This email is admitted into evidence as Exhibit 276. On April 18th, 2012, Durst finally sat for the long-awaited interview with Jarecki and Smerling. Jarecki's and Smerling's purpose in pursuing the interview was to confront Durst with the serb envelope and its striking similarity to the printing on the cadaver note. That morning, Durst met Jarecki and Smerling at the Regency Hotel in Manhattan, where Durst was fitted with a wireless microphone that he wore on his clothing. Smerling filmed Jarecki and Durst visiting locations around Manhattan, including the offices of the Durst organization. Outside of the Durst organization building, Durst organization's security personnel confronted Durst and asked him to leave. The portion of Robert Durst's April 18, 2012 interview that the people have played and or will play in court during his trial are true and accurate copies of this interview. No portion of this interview, either video or audio, including what has been commonly referred to as the bathroom audio, was edited, altered, or modified in any way. However, Hit the Ground Running did in fact make edits and modifications of this audio and video footage, including extensive editing of the bathroom audio in the version which appeared in the Jinx. The edits that were made are completely in line with the industry standards within the documentary film community. Portions of this unedited April 18, 2012 interview are admitted into evidence as Exhibits 277 and 277A and will now be played.
Nick hired Ed Wright, and Nick was very, very supportive of Ed Wright. I remember at the very beginning we had a big argument.
Thank you.
Do I have all the old ones back? Oh. What's that?
Yes.
All I do is, you know what you're doing. I'll look through it. How was the previous transcript of the audio? This is what we're doing now. Go to your room. My little corner, I'll go back to my corner. Go to your room.
Nick hired Ed Wright, and Nick was very, very supportive
Can we rewind just like
Ed
20
Wright.
seconds?
So that was the beginning, but I'll start again.
Oh, okay.
You want us to go back even further? Before the beginning?
Nick hired Ed Wright, and Nick was very, very supportive of Ed Wright. I remember at the very beginning we had a big argument. And Ed Wright asked me what Kathy was wearing when she left. And I think when she left, when I put her on the train, that's when she left. I put her on the train, she was wearing her cowboy boots, jeans, big beige jack coat, I didn't remember what kind of shirt. And that's what I had told the police, and that's what I had told it.
When you walked into that back conference room, did you feel like, oh, Jesus, now I'm late, I gotta take a bunch of shit, or did you just feel like,
What the heck, who cares? What are you people doing here, wasting your time in this windowless room? Looking at lines and comments and a 150-page document, what a waste of a life. I would lord it over them. I didn't have to do that, because, that's not me. Why would I have to do that?
this, I think, is, this is the,
Yeah, I was at New York Post, $100,000 reward.
and what was the story with the reward? Was it offered, was it not offered?
It was offered by the PR guy, but there was an argument about how much, and he wasn't authorized to announce $100,000, but he did it anyway. remember whose PR guy or where, but he told the Post, and the Post ran it on the front page.
Was it Morty Max or something else?
No, it was before Morty Max. I remember who it was. I can't remember the stuff. I had brought the guy in. Or Howard Rubenstein, I probably bought there. But whatever it was, there was 15,000, somebody threw 100,000, because there had just been something for 20,000. So we want to come out with a bigger one. We ran that.
Do you remember who made this?
I think this was Kathy's family, but provided by the McCormack family. So this must have been when we were going our separate ways, and they had decided they didn't like Nick Stipulated, and Nick Stipulated was helping me and not looking for Kathy. All he was doing was defending me, and he wasn't doing anything about finding Kathy, and that his real job was to defend me and not to find Kathy, and that was their reward.
Another different dog.
Different dog, Igor. And that's the one that became Norwegian elk hound. We got him with a vet after the 2 Siberian Huskies died, ran away.
And was there one Igor or there were multiple Igors?
One Norwegian elk hound. There were 2 Siberian Huskies.
Same name? Igor.
Yeah, they all Igor. For Stravinsky.
Yeah. And would that have any?
Scandinavian, Stravinsky, Igor.
Oh, Norwegian.
Yeah.
And what happened to Igor?
Oh, we put Igor to sleep. Same thing with Sam. Those were the last 2 dogs. Igor and Sam, they got to be very old and couldn't do anything. Igor had problems with his hips. I wish I'd put him to sleep a little while longer, earlier. Because he had such problems with his hips, I had to lift him up.
Town, dump, bridge, dig, bolt, other, shovel, or check, car, truck, rental. So this is my handwriting. Now, I have a feeling there's something out here, but I have no idea what that means, what I was writing. And she found this in the trash around the time when Kathy disappeared.
Yeah. So I think
She figured it all out.
evidently
Town
not.
dump bridge. I don't even know where the town dump is up there. They collected garbage. We never took anything to a dump.
Yeah, I mean, I think what she said to the police was, well, this was the list that Bob made after Kathy was dead. These were his options on what to do with the body.
The town dump or the bridge or the boat. We had a sailboat on the lake. No, well, this must have been, I reported Kathy missing Friday. And this must have been the next week, or maybe that weekend, going over in my mind what I had done the previous week. And those were the questions that everybody was asking me.
Yeah, that makes sense. So this sort of is just an example, I guess, of the kind of tabloid nature of the coverage at the time.
Yeah, we should have gone to the Times, but the Post was more interesting.
Yeah.
And everybody said, you know, the Times doesn't run this kind of thing. You want to get a picture of her out there, so wherever she is, she's going to come home. Oh, and they got me Prudence Farrow. Anyway, everybody was right, because this was a story for the Post. Well, of course, they were going to make it a story, you know, that everybody was going to, who needs the Post was going to write, but they were going to run it. Where would the Times run something like this? It would have been missing person and developer Robert Durst, Seymour Durst's son Robert, made offering a reward for his wife, who he hasn't seen since whenever.
Now, around this time, everybody's talking about Susan Berman was Bob's spokesperson, but what did she actually do? Was she somebody who would call the Post and say, I can tell you some background on this because she was a writer? Did she have any function in that way?
Eddie Rothschild, who married Nan Askin, my cousin, had contacts with the media because he had taken, when they first created the Health and Hospitals Corporation, which was going to take over all that stuff, maybe it's still there, I don't know. He was their spokesman, Dr. Edmund Rothschild, so he knew these people. I don't know whose idea it was, but that Eddie contacted the reporters that he knew, and they were calling me. You know, I said, listen, this isn't something I want to do, but I do want to have a story. And I told them to call Susan Berman, my friend Susan Berman, and she would give them the answers to all their questions. Which she did, very, very honestly. Is Robert intimate with Prudence Fowler? Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. So in all the different jails, prisons I was in, we always knew that it was suspect to being recorded and distributed. The same thing with the letters. And what the DeGuerin and Ramsey both told me was, you don't talk about the trial. And there's nothing in the tapes that has to do with Texas. Mm-hmm. So none of the tapes had anything to do with the trial, couldn't really conceivably be used to hurt me, except like this.
Oh, this is Andrea Piper. As I reported exclusively Wednesday, authorities believe Douglas Durst wasn't the only person on his brother's hit list. When Robert was picked up in Pennsylvania along with 2 guns, ammo, and lots of cash, his trunk contained directions to the Connecticut home of Gilberta and Jamie, a friend of Robert's missing wife, Kathy.
I don't know who concluded that.
Did you have this address of Gilberta and Jamie?
No.
You didn't have, you weren't going to go do something bad
I
tonight?
have no idea where she lived. Where she lived then or where she lived now. I drove, yes, Douglas's house, but I didn't go in the driveway. I had the 2 guns the whole time. I was the 2 guns went every place with me.
All right, I want to ask you about this address.
Susie.
Well, yeah, you can read me the letter.
Now and again, I think about old times. Gee, good luck, Bobby. Susie. What about the address?
Well, first I was curious about this office. Was your own office that you had for a period of time?
Yeah. When I left the family business, I moved my office downtown.
And do you remember writing this to Susan?
No, not at all. I left the family business in 94, 95. Susie now and again, I think about old times, good luck, Bobby. I don't know what Susie was doing. She must have come out with a new something or other. Whatever she had then published and whatever in 94, 95, I have no idea what that's about.
Now, it's a very short note. So my theory is that this probably was you sending her some support.
That's possible. That certainly is possible. Except I wouldn't have mailed her money. I would have mailed her a check. I would have mailed her gifts. I can easily see writing that letter and putting a check in there.
Which I think is important because everybody says, oh, he didn't. He gave her money after Janine Pirro opened the investigation, and that's an indication that he's
living my whole life, and periodically she was paying me back for this charity or little thing. Whenever she came out with a new, she would always send me something or other. And she would write long letters.
Long letters.
Long letters.
Because she wanted to tell you everything, probably.
Well, that's the way Susie was. I mean, you start to talk to Susie, it goes on and 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 on. You go to dinner with her and she wouldn't be touching her food because she's spending a lot of time talking. And she always ate duck. You had to go someplace that had duck.
So I want to show you the envelope that that letter came in. Would you read me the address on this envelope?
Robert Durst, 424, 67 Wall Street, New York, 0100005.
And who you sent it to?
Susan Berman, 1527 Benedict Canyon, Beverly Hills, California. Beverly spelled the wrong California, 90210.
So,
which is, you know, the zip code that you want in Beverly Hills, but you just didn't want Susie's neighborhood.
So obviously I want to ask you about the cadaver note, the famous cadaver note. Can you read me the spelling of Beverly Hills?
1527 Benedict Canyon, cadaver. Same misspelling.
So Beverly is spelled the same way on this and the same way on this.
Same misspelling.
And what does that say to you?
Well, I mean, the writing looks similar and the spelling is the same, so I can see the conclusion the cops would draw.
And I think this is a comparison of the two, right? Which is
very similar.
So I guess the question is, did you write the cadaver note?
No, I didn't write the cadaver note.
So you wrote this, but you didn't write this?
Definitely wrote this, but I definitely did not write that.
Even though the Beverly is spelled
Very
the same.
similar, very similar.
And if, this, it's similar.
Yeah. I was about to say, well, these are block letters, and how are you going to write that other than that? I mean, it's almost like a typed thing. It's going to look, with two typewriters, it's going to look the same.
So you wrote one of these, but you didn't write the other one.
I wrote this one, but I did not write the good apple one.
And can you tell me which one of these you wrote, or which one you didn't write?
No.
How come you can't tell the difference between those two?
Well, I can see a difference here, and this E. I mean, I know and this is sort of, these L's are sort of, this is more square, and this is less square, and the writing exemplar people do that kind of stuff.
I guess what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to imagine a situation where these two things are this
I can
similar.
see it how the cops would conclude with them both. Or the writing exemplar person would conclude they were both written by the same person.
And if you look at the address, it's also extraordinarily similar, I think. The N and the Y, space between them, the Y's are made the same way, the N's are identical.
Very similar, but at the same time, it's block letters. How else are you going to write a C?
I guess I'm searching for a way, among other things, to understand how
Two people could misspell Beverly.
well, that's an example, I guess. But I think I'm searching for a way to figure out how you didn't write the cadaver note, because it's so similar.
Well, what I see as the similarity is really the misspelling in the Beverly. Other than that, the block letters are block letters. I mean, it's almost comparing what was typed here to what was typed in the other one. It's gotta be a block letter. How else would you write a block letter than like that? And I mean, you certainly can find slight differences. What jumps out to me is the misspelling, which I don't remember misspelling Beverly. I'm trying to think if it could be, because there's two street named Beverly. There's Beverly Drive and there's Beverly Boulevard. I have in the back of my mind that one of them is spelled with an E, but I'm not sure right now. The town is definitely without the E. But I do think that one of the two, either Beverly Drive or Beverly Boulevard, has an E in it. I'm not sure.
Do you ever use block letters when you're writing or you're addressing something?
Well, I'm trying to write really clearly. I mean, if I'm printing, what is print?
Yeah. No, I understand. So to put the finer point on it, so we have this on the record, you didn't write it. You did
I
write
did
it.
not write the cadaver murder.
And you didn't kill Susan Berman.
No, I did not kill Susan Berman.
Near the end of the April 18, 2012 interview, shortly after being confronted with the serb envelope and cadaver note, Durst, while still wearing his microphone, went to use the bathroom. The true and accurate audio of Durst while he was in the bathroom audio, is admitted into evidence as Exhibit 278 and will now be played.
Can everybody hear Ethan?
Can I turn up the, may I enter the well to turn up the volume?
Yes.
And this is subtitle. Right?
Yes.
So the beginning words are going to be really loud. Can I stay right here and keep it down until?
Yes, you may remain in the well.
Thank you.
Your Honor, can I have 1 second before we start this? There's a pop-up that keeps coming up.
Pop-up.
Yes. Unfortunately, we have to wait for the pop-up.
Wait, Ethan,
Yes.
is there other audio? Can I just put the volume up now? Is there other stuff?
You can put the volume up. You can hang out over there, whatever you like.
Okay.
Ready?
Yeah.
Some places my bad. I am going to go use the restroom, which is right here. Except that it's locked. Listen. Oh, someone's in the bathroom.
Oh, okay.
Well, maybe this is the bathroom.
Yeah, that's.
You're all right. This is the bathroom. There it is. Record.
Horse. But can't imagine. I do not want to talk to them. What you expected to get. What's it about? Oh, I want this. Kill them all, of course. So I do something new. Something new. I'm having difficulty with the question. I know that I do.
I'm briefing Zach on his idea for Monday. The document be a part of it, and then Nick Chapin.
Yes, that's just what was on my mind, was Nick Chapin. Now, I'm happy that you record everything that's said and that you use whatever you want with one. Is that my dinner?
Is it your day?
After the April 18, 2012 interview, Jarecki and Smerling continued to research Robert Durst and to conduct additional interviews. On July 13, 2012, Jarecki emailed Durst for permission to interview a number of Durst's former lawyers as well as Ed Wright, the private investigator who was hired by Durst's original criminal defense attorney, Nick Scapetta, during the original investigation into Kathy Durst's disappearance in 1982. 2 days later, on July 15, 2012, Durst responded to Jarecki's email request by writing, "I have always said you can talk to anyone you want. These emails are admitted into evidence as Exhibit 279." And I'll read a portion of it. "Hi, Andrew. I have always said you can talk to anyone you want. However, this has been dragging on for a long time, and I thought you were sort of waiting to film me in what is left of Times Square, and we had that interesting flip it with Douglas's Rent-A-Cops. Also, I thought you had already tried some of those Galveston people. I was hoping to get Tom through his first wife, Marty Simon, whose older brother, Roger, is a well-known political pundit, but I never got around to it. I will put it on my short list. Honestly, I thought you had stopped, irrespective of the gossip that Simon Rabinowitz keep reporting. Bob." On August 8, 2012, Jarecki interviewed Dick DeGuerin and Chip Lewis. On October 20th, 2012, Smerling began searching for someone in Los Angeles law enforcement to speak with regarding the similarities between the serb letter and envelope and the cadaver note. At the suggestion of Westchester County District Attorney Investigator Ed Murphy, Smerling spoke with FBI Special Agent Eric Perry. On February 17, 2013, Special Agent Perry gave Jarecki and Smerling DDA John Lewin's contact information. Jarecki, Special Agent Perry, and DDA Lewin had a phone call in which Jarecki agreed to show DDA Lewin their 2010 and 2012 interviews of Durst. Lewin advised them on the call that he would review any evidence that they chose to share, but that it would be a one-way street, and there would be no information provided back to Jarecki and Smerling. On June 8, 2013, Jarecki showed DDA Lewin a copy of the serb letter and serb envelope. At the invitation of Jarecki and Smerling, during June and July of 2013, Detective Shamlian, DDA Lewin, DDA Balian, and DDA Milius watched the complete unedited footage of the 2010 and 2012 interviews. On July 2, 2013, Smerling provided a copy of a document Durst had written called the Durst Obesity Clinic. This document is admitted into evidence as Exhibit 280. Throughout the remainder of 2013 and 2014, Jarecki and Smerling, along with their associates at Hit the Ground Running, continued their work on what would eventually become the Jinx documentary. On November 27, 2013, Jarecki and Smerling and Hit the Ground Running sent a proposed agreement to the Los Angeles County District Attorney's Office regarding the release of certain of their materials to law enforcement. The majority of these materials were legally protected by the Reporter's Shield and could not have been compelled to have been produced under California law. On December 19, 2013, at the direction of Durst and his permission, Jarecki and Smerling went to Susan Giordano's home in upstate New York to review and to copy Durst's personal documents, which he had authorized Giordano to release to them. On January 28, 2014, the Los Angeles County District Attorney's Office signed a materials agreement with Jarecki, Smerling, and Hit the Ground Running for the release of some of their materials. Pursuant to the agreement, Jarecki, Smerling, and Hit the Ground Running agreed to release materials to the Los Angeles County District Attorney's Office, the majority of which were legally protected by the Reporter's Shield and could not have been compelled to have been produced under California law. On June 10th, 2014, Jarecki and Smerling gave the serb note and serb envelope to the Los Angeles County District Attorney's Office. Later that same month, during the post-production process for the Jinx, Jarecki and Smerling hired a new film editor, Shelby Siegel. In an effort to familiarize herself with the material, Siegel went back and listened to all the audio from the 2010 and 2012 previous interviews of Durst. During this process, Siegel discovered for the first time the bathroom audio. On October 8, 2014, HBO purchased the rights to broadcast The Jinx. During their work on the project, Jarecki and Smerling had conversations/interviews with Emily Altman. None of these conversations/interviews were included in The Jinx. Jarecki, Smerling, and Hit the Ground Running have lawfully refused to answer questions regarding anything Emily Altman has told them, as they have been determined by the court to have been operating as journalists who have the legal right to withhold all unpublished, unaired information. Since 2013, Jarecki, Smerling, Hit the Ground Running, and their attorneys have conducted extensive negotiations with the Los Angeles District Attorney's Office regarding what materials would and would not be provided to law enforcement. Over the course of the past 8 years, Jarecki, Smerling, and Hit the Ground Running have disclosed some information voluntarily, have released some information in response to subpoena, and have refused to disclose other information pursuant to a lawful invocation of their journalistic protections. On November 14, 2014, Smerling provided Detective Shamlian, DDA Lewin, DDA Balian with the unedited bathroom audio. On February 8, 2015, the first episode of the 6-part documentary, The Jinx, premiered on HBO. The episodes aired on 6 consecutive Sunday nights. The footage of Durst being confronted with the cadaver note and the serb letter and the serb envelope aired during the 5th episode on March 8, 2015. The final episode aired 1 week later on March 15, 2015, the day after Durst's arrest in New Orleans. Neither Jarecki, Smerling, nor anyone outside of law enforcement was given any advance notice of Durst's arrest in New Orleans. They learned of the arrest through news coverage. On March 16, 2015, Durst was charged with the special circumstance murder of Susan Berman in Los Angeles County. As with the arrest, neither Jarecki, Smerling, nor anyone outside of law enforcement was consulted or in any way advised of the murder charges in advance of their filing. That concludes the stipulation 70. Parties so stipulate? People stipulate.
And the court already has accepted that stipulation. What will you be presenting next, Mr.
Your Honor,
Milius?
could we have maybe our morning break? I just want to verify one thing before we proceed with video.
Yes, then we will take a 15-minute break until 10:20 a.m. Do not converse among yourselves or with anyone else on any subject connected with this case. Do not form or express any opinion on the case. See you at 10:20.